Now, once again, Raymond Arroyo.
Welcome back to The World Over. What could an 87-year-old Benedictine nun possibly teach a 31-year-old self-described lost soul? My next guest is no longer lost, but he's here to tell us about his unusual friendship with Sister Augustine, a humble ceramic artist who lived in a monastery near his hometown. Over a period of 5 years, their visits taught him invaluable lessons about life, love, mercy, and redemption. He's the author of the new memoir, 5 Years in Heaven, The Unlikely Friendship That Answered Life's Greatest Questions. I sat down with JOHN SCHLIMM to discuss it all recently here in our D.C. studio. John, first of all, where and how did you meet Sister Augustine, this woman who you knew for 5 years, and she really transformed your life?
It really was a case of divine intervention, if ever there was one. You know, I met her at a point in my life when I was at one of those crossroads we all get to, where we're wondering if we've made the right decisions and we're going in the right direction. And on a very snowy February 21st, I still remember the date, I was taken to her ceramic shop on the grounds of the convent in my hometown. And that's where I met her.
Wow. And you thought what when you met her? This is an aged nun. She was, what, 87
She was
years
87.
old?
I was 31 at the time. She was 87, and I walked into that shop. You know, there was this little nun in full traditional habit, barely over 5 feet tall, slightly hunched. The only deviation from the habit was she had on a homemade bib apron smeared with paint. And it really was just a magical moment, and I knew I had walked into the place I was meant to be at that point in my life.
What did she teach you? What was the enduring lesson she gave you over those 5 years?
You know, over those 5 years, I spent hundreds of visits with her. Every week I would go 1 or 2 times. And I once asked her, we were making these little crosses that she made from leftover clay. And I asked her, Sister, in your life, what is the most important lesson you've learned? And it gave her pause, and she sat down and thought for a moment. And then she said a single word: forgiveness. And that really became the focus of chapter 6 in the book, Tiny Crosses, because that then turned into this conversation about the importance of forgiveness. And there's not a day that goes by that lesson in particular isn't something that, you know, crosses my mind.
Why did you write the book? Why did you feel, I know, you know, books are not easy to write, particularly as they are, the closer they are to you, the harder they are to write in some ways, because they demand a lot of you.
And this was a book that almost didn't get written. And if people jump to the acknowledgments in the back,
you waited a long time to write it.
I tell the story of how it came to be, and it was through a very special sign that I received from Sister. But I felt that, you know, Sister always talked about God's time and how God's time is different than ours. Because I would always be so impatient, like, why can't I find the job I want? Why, you know, are publishers rejecting every book proposal I send to them? And she would say, in God's time this will happen. And I really think this is a case with this book. It came at the right time, and in God's time I was able to write it.
You know, as I was reading 5 Years in Heaven, and I just read it after Mother Angelica's passing, who also died on Easter Sunday at 92.
Yes, isn't that amazing?
Which you know, Sister Augustine has the same experience.
Same thing.
You thought what when she passed? You exchanged words at the end, and it's almost as if you're trying to tell her, hey, hang around. Don't leave us. You got all this work to do. You're, you know, trying to keep her. And she tells you what?
She told me, I asked her once, Sister, are you afraid of dying? Because she was really the last in her immediate family, some of whom had died very tragically. And I said, are you afraid of dying? And she said, no, everyone's entitled to their reward. And so when she passed away, and I was the last person to get to actually visit with her, which was such a great honor. And so when I heard the news that she had passed on Easter Sunday, I just looked up at the sky and I smiled, and I thought, you got your reward.
You are part, what the interesting thing here is, it really is also about the enduring power of art in a life, and how through art, whatever that art might be, in her case it was ceramics. She had this ceramic shop, and you brought me one of her little ceramic crosses here, beautiful. Talk to me about what she imparted to you, about the importance of art, whatever it is, in our lives, and how it's inspired you. You have your own projects now that are ongoing.
Yes, she really taught me that life is art. Our lives are the greatest work of art. You know, we really, everything we do, the joys and the sorrows, she taught me to embrace everything and really to look at those things as the paintbrush to our canvas and the chisel to our block of marble. And so she really expanded my concept of just what art and life truly are.
Tell me about this project you have, The Smile That Changed the World. What is this?
I'm so excited about The Smile That Changed the World Is Yours. It's a participatory art piece. It's this 18-foot long canvas of faces that I've started, and then I invite the participants to come up and add their smiles to it. But it's been really great to see just all the different people who have come to this project. You know, it'll be everyone from a 3-year-old child to someone in their 80s and 90s who will come up and they'll pick their favorite color and they'll add their smile to the canvas. And it's been such a joy to see that.
When you wrote 5 Years in Heaven, when I went through it, the thing that kept coming back to me is we, as Pope Francis has said, we treat the elderly as if they're garbage or disposable trash. And there are these rich vessels of wisdom, love, hope, experience that really we need to go on our journey.
Absolutely.
What did the experience with Sister Augustine teach you, and what do we need to take from that, the time you spent with her after you met?
Well, you know, we were separated in age by 56 years. And going into my friendship with her, I'd been fortunate to be close with grandparents and great uncles and aunts. And so my parents had already instilled a great respect for older people. But she really cemented that. And she just showed me the beauty that comes in those relationships on both ends, and how we really are all both teacher and student in ever-reversing roles. And, you know, Pope Francis, of course, is so wonderful, as was Mother Angelica. And I'd like to think that the three of them would have been great friends. And I'm sure Mother Angelica and Sister Augustine are having a great time right now.
Indeed.
Hopefully they're smiling down on you and me.
Yeah. I hope so too. And the book certainly made me smile. It's a beautiful book, 5 Years in Heaven, The Unlikely Friendship That Answered Life's Greatest Questions. John, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
What a pleasure. 5 Years in Heaven, The Unlikely Friendship That Answered Life's Greatest Questions by John Schllimm is available at bookstores everywhere and online.